Alright, everybody, what's happening? You know, damn you, Artisan knives. I really, really do like their stuff. Their stuff is pretty dang good, which is why this one's in this video today. So let's get into it, everybody. Let's talk blades, because that's what we're into. Today, I have for you guys the Hornet. Now, when I first saw this, I was thinking to myself, man, that'd be really cool to get one in G10. And I couldn't find one available for sale in G10. I just couldn't. I don't know why I couldn't. I just couldn't find one in G10. So I had to. The only one that was available for purchase, at least on Blade HQ. I try not to go to too many places I don't really trust or know, especially coming from other people who shop a certain way. Always tell me to watch out because, you know, online predators and online sale predators are out there, and they can always send you fakes, or they can just rip you off in some sort of way. So anyways, I was only able to find one that was made in titanium, which I gotta tell you is pretty sleek. It's pretty nice, and I like it. I'm actually glad I made that decision to get the titanium one more rather than the G10, because if I got the G10, then I probably would have been wanting the titanium. So without further ado, here it is. And of course, I'll go ahead and pull out this awesomeness that's right here. So you get your microfiber cloth Artisan cutlery on there, so it's really nice. I've been using the microfiber cloths, and they're really, really great. They work really well. And of course, you get your Artisan cutlery limited lifetime warranty paperwork and all that jazz. So you got that. And of course, your quality card is like what I want to identify this as. It is specifications. Your model number is 1810G. Blade Steel SS35VN, which is a step up from their D2 steel that I've been getting lately, which is okay. Handle material is titanium, as I said before. Frame lock design. Blade hardness is a Rockwell of 58 to 60 HRC. Structure ceramic ball bearing, that's going to be for the pivot. And of course, Artisan Cutlery, artisancutlery.net. So yeah, it's a cool little thing to have. Little specification card. And of course comes in this box, and it also comes in a metal tin over that, which you can use for whatever you want, markers, pens, or you can just keep it for your knife like another buddy of mine likes to do. He keeps all of his original packaging, which I think is just, to me, I think it's a little bit of a waste of space, you know. You'd have a lot more space if you got rid of some of that packaging, but this isn't considered packaging. Well, maybe it is, but to me, it's just to keep this protected, you know. It's kind of like a sleeve of some kind, so I like it. So here it is. Here's the knife in all of its glory. You got the titanium. Now, what really bothered me when I got this was it looked like a scratch, but it wasn't. It was just a deep smudge, I guess, was on here. I don't know what it was. So I had to rub it off with my thumb, and it came off pretty easily. So, what the heck? I got dead skin on my hand. I don't even know how I got that. That's weird. I'll take that off later. Anyways, so there's a couple interesting things about this knife. One, in the pictures, it looks a lot bulkier in the handle, but when you get it in person, it's actually very slim. At least in my personal opinion. When I saw this, I was like, oh man, the handle looks bulky. I don't know if I'm going to like that. And I was actually very wrong and very impressed. This is quite nice. It should come in a little under 5 ounces, which is fantastic, or close to 5 ounces anyways. The aesthetics on this thing is quite pleasing. I have to say that it's nothing short of impressive. Now, the thing on this is you got the glass breaker. That is tungsten carbide on there. That's a little tungsten carbide ball. And that's supposed to help, you know, crack some glass if needed. And of course, you got that, what I like to call the pen cap pocket clip. These kind of pocket clips make me nervous because that's a very thin material, but it is titanium, so it should hold up pretty well. But you know, it shouldn't snag on anything, at least not that I've experienced, anyways. But these pocket clips are going to be a little bit difficult to replace had there be any accidents done. What's cool about this is that you can switch the pocket clip from left to right hand carry. So you have that little panel right there that comes off with that screw, and then you just put this on this side if needed. That's really cool. You can also remove this glass breaker. If you don't want this glass breaker on there, you just put something that fits in that hole, some sort of metal tool, and then just turn it counterclockwise, and it should come off. So if you don't like that look with the glass breaker on there, you can take it off, and I love that you can do that. That's really cool. So go ahead and I'll open up the knife here. Very smooth, very smooth. Blade is fantastic. It's very stabby, and it's got a needle point on there. For that S35VN, man, I gotta tell you, this is really nice. So here it is, you'll see it, S35VN, and then the serial number you see on there, 1810G. It also has a double fuller on both sides of the knife, carved in. It only goes about halfway, and then it has this swedge up here, which I think is really nice. It kind of gives it that double-edged look when it's really not. But I really do like that. It makes it just that much more aerodynamic when you want to go into a thrust. Hoping and praying that you never would have to unless you're stabbing a box and opening up a package. But anyways, you got the symbol of Artisan Cutlery right there. That weird S2, I don't know. It's weird. And then, of course, you got that China on there. And a lot of people, they scoff at that. They're like, And it used to make me do that. I used to be like, it says China on it. Ugh. But I gotta tell you, a lot of things that come out of China are actually pretty decent. But you do get what you pay for. So be aware of that. Especially when coming from China. If you buy a knockoff, you will know it's a knockoff. You buy a good quality knife, you will know it's a good quality knife. And for that, I actually want to compare really quick the quality of this knife, which costs, what, $180 to $200, right? I think I paid $186, $187, something like that for this. And then here is the Artisan Shark. And I can tell the difference between the craftsmanship and the care that was put into this compared to the craftsmanship and care that was put into this, coming from the same company. I can tell you right now that carrying this and using it operates very well. I do love the D2 steel, but I gotta tell you, this knife is going to operate better than this. And I can tell you right now that the pivot feels different. This feels smoother than this does, even though this is smooth already. This just feels way smoother. So you can tell this is like a $55 knife, and this is a 5 times the value of this compared to this, and you can literally feel the difference. Opening it, closing it, operating it, cutting with it, at least from the small stuff that I have cut, and I can tell you that the quality is there, and you can totally see that. So anyways, I'll put this away, put this off to the side. I'm not doing a video on that. But I have to tell you though, there are other flavors of this that come in different colors in the G10, and then of course you have this ultimate, the most expensive Hornet that you could get, the 186. It's got that over travel stop for that frame lock, so you don't pull this out any farther than it needs to go, which I really like that. It's a really nice touch. And we'll go ahead and get into the specs of this knife so you guys understand what you're getting yourself into if you decide to purchase this, or if you want to get one for cheaper, then I'm sure there's another option out there if you're able to find it. But Artisan Cutlery, I've seen a lot of people, they're getting into that company, and I don't blame them. It's a really good company. So trying to find models for certain knives that I find interesting are a little bit easier said than done. So we'll go ahead and get into the weight, the length, and all that good and happy jazz. So it comes in at a 4.95, so just under 5 ounces. That's how heavy I actually like my knives, to be around about 5 ounces. And of course, we'll go ahead and put it to the length here. I want to get that in the video so that way you guys know how long this thing is. Now from the pivot, if you're holding this knife correctly, you have a 4-inch reach. But the cutting edge, you only have 3.5 roughly. Yeah, I want to say about close to 3.5 inches of actual cutting edge. 4 inches of reach from the pivot if you're holding the knife correctly, and overall 9 inches exactly of the entire blade length. Oh, sorry, handle length if it's closed. you're looking at a 5 3/8, 5 1/4. So I like that. I really, really like that. So that's actually really nice. I really do like these quillions that they have right here. It just has that extra guard. It just looks really, really cool. It kind of looks like that Octa non Verba, the Z700, I think I remember it was called. I don't know if that's the right name, but I know the company name was Octa non Verba. It reminds me of that knife, but this is way more high class than that. Very nice needle nose, needle point tip right there. That's the only thing I'd be worried about is snapping that tip if you're doing any type of work with this knife. I can only see this knife as a single purpose knife for self-defense. But I'm sure you can EDC this knife and use it for every other thing. I just wouldn't go prying with it because you are going to run a risk of snapping that. But I mean, the blade stock looks a little bit, it's thick here, but it tapers to a very thin-ish way down here, so I'd just be aware of what you're going to use this knife for. But I think this is a great self-defense knife, nice and light, very flashy looking in my opinion. So I would have gone, if I were to choose, I would have really liked this to be, man, I would really like this to be G10. But it's still a fantastic knife nonetheless. So we'll go ahead and get into the width of things. If I can get it. There it is. Alright. So on the handle, you are looking at a 11.5. On the blade, you are looking at a 2.3. So that is still pretty dang thin. And it's not bulky at all. So really nice. And of course, why not? I'm going to do a little bit of cutting. I haven't done any cutting in the videos in a while. So here's a little bit of a scrap paper. Go ahead and see how well it cuts. Go ahead and see how well it cuts. Are you serious right now? Okay. I gotta get back in the groove of things. I was doing really well with the whole cutting thing, and then, you know what I mean? Yeah, so it's not razor sharp, but it has a decent edge on there. It's a little difficult to catch, but it has an edge, and it's a functioning edge. Not exactly razor sharp, not cold steel or Spartaco sharp, but it still has an edge. So yeah, I can tell that this, yeah, it's not the best, but it's not the worst either. I can tell it has an edge, I can feel it, and it's pretty dang sharp. So yeah. You know what, I really, man, I know the tip's got no problem, right? Yeah, look at that, it just went right through that like nothing. Hold on. Here's some paracord, some scrap paracord that I'm using for cutting. So I'm gonna make it, okay. So yeah, it's a decent edge. A little bit frayed right there, so I mean, it's not the sharpest, but it is an edge. And it does work. It's not the best, but it's certainly not the worst. If you're looking at purchasing this knife, I suggest you look around first for the cheaper models, the G10, before you get this titanium one. Only because this thing is really expensive. But I've noticed that through Artisan Cutlery, you get exactly what you pay for. If you get a $50 knife, you'll understand that it's, you know, it's decent. It's not perfect, but it's decent. You get a $200 knife, you're gonna know it's a $200 knife because the quality is gonna ramp up that much more. And I've noticed that throughout the purchases that I've made. You get exactly what you pay for. And I've kind of seen that pattern with Chinese companies. You get a cheap knife from China, you're going to know it's cheap. You get an expensive knife from China, you know it's going to be expensive. The only knife company from China that I know kind of surpassed that was Ifengro. and that was with the beater knife that I was showing you guys. I actually gave that away as a gift to somebody else recently because I just couldn't stand how confused I was with it. Even though it was gifted to me, I still gave it away to someone else as a gift. And don't worry, I don't normally do that. When I'm gifted something, I try not to give it away. But I kind of had a little bit of a struggle with mixed feelings about it, and the person who gave it to me was like, dude, I told you I don't care what you do with it, I just wanted to be on your channel. And I was like, are you sure? He was like, yeah, man, you've already fulfilled that, so you can do whatever you want with it. He's like, I don't care if you even throw it away. And I was like, well, look, I don't normally do this. And he goes, nah, dude, I don't care what you do with it, you can throw it in the street for all I care. I don't care, it's yours, I gave it to you, and I'm not going to be hurt if you decide to get rid of it. And I was like, all right, cool. And he goes, that's what I wanted you to do. I wanted you to beat it up, I wanted you to destroy it, but you haven't done that because your passion for knives prevented you from destroying it. And I was like, well, if I find it a new home, is that okay? And he goes, yeah, maybe they'll destroy it. It was a really stupid conversation, but it was funny either way. But yeah, so that was the only knife, and it was a $20 knife that felt and operated like a $40 to $60 knife was my point. And coming from China, that was probably the only other knife company that really surpassed my expectations. But anything else I've gotten from China literally fell apart, didn't hold an edge very well, didn't use the greatest steel. The only gripe that I have with the Shark from Artisan Cutlery, and I'm just adding this as kind of a comparison to, this price tag to this price tag. The quality difference means a lot. So, really quickly, I'm going to show you guys. The pocket clip on this one is so sturdy. You cannot move it. It's fixed. With these two screws, it is on there like cement, all right? $55 knife. It's got some of my jeans on there. This thing shifts, and it's still, I've caught myself a handful of times after carrying this, pulling it out of my pocket. This pocket clip will be like this, and so I have to move it aside, and those screws on there are on there as tight as I can get them without damaging the screw or the tool bit, the little Torx bit. That's not good for what you're paying for. This knife's a $50 knife. I guess the pocket clip is fine, but it shifts, and that kind of turns me sour just a little bit. So that kind of proves that you get what you pay for. So you can tell that this G10 isn't the best quality, but it's on there. It's got a bit of a grip, and it's fine. The anodized blue is nice, but I know over time that's going to scratch off, and it's going to look ugly, or it's going to give it some character. But the D2 steel is great. The ball bearing pivot should last. The edge, I've noticed, has been a champ. So the overall function of the knife is great, but the overall appearance is going to dwindle over time because of the price tag. And I think that the quality of the knife just determines on the user. So, and then with me being just a normal person carrying this around and not hard using it, heavy cutting or anything like that, the pocket clip, I fear, is going to be the first thing to go on this knife because of the fact that it shifts and it's not stationary like this. You can tell on here they have a cutout. There's a panel to prove it, that it sits flush to the handle so it doesn't doesn't move around. This moves around. As much as I want to like this knife, this is not a sturdy pocket clip. And I can tell you right now, and I don't really bump into too many things, but at the end of the day, I've always caught this pocket clip being all the way to this side, and I always have to push it, and it's easy for me to push it this way. Over time, that is going to wear out the threading on the screws. It's going to loosen the screws. I'm going to have to keep tightening it or using a little bit of Loctite. Either way, it's not going to keep it tight enough to where it'll stop moving. It'll start loosening up somewhere, whether it be the material on the pocket clip or the screws itself or the threading or all of it, and it's not going to be good. So Artisan Cutlery, if you're watching this, can you guys just carve into this G10 and then make it flush so it doesn't move around like you guys did with this knife. I mean, that would be, and it's not an extra, I'm not asking, I'm just saying, it would be better if they could do that. Other than that, this knife is practically perfect for the price and for the functionality and for the blade steel and the weight and length. Everything is great. My only gripe is the pocket clip shifting. And that kind of turns me off on a lot of knives. If you get a knife, $50, $60, $70, $80 knife that has a shifting pocket clip, it kind of makes a really, really difficult time for you to carry this. I've noticed that way back when I did have I think it was a $70 knife that I had in my pocket, and the pocket clip just kept shifting. So I had to constantly go in there with a tool, tighten the screw, and then eventually I used Loctite, which the screw stayed on. But what ended up happening was this pocket clip ended up shifting, and then it ended up breaking off, and it tore the threading on the inside of the knife. And I was basically I contacted the company, and they sent me a new pocket clip, but I couldn't attach it because the threading on the inside was so badly damaged. And that's not good. And of course, that could happen with any knife, but it was always shifting. So when I was emailing the person on the other side, he was telling me that it kind of aided to the pocket clip being useless or rendering it operating as such and causing the new pocket clip not to be able to be rethreaded back in with the new screws. And it was just a big mess, and it just turned me sour. So ever since then, when I see this, you see that? Now, that doesn't really bother too many people. It bothers the heck out of me because of, what I ended up going through. And now that I've done this, I'm pretty sure I'm worsening the condition of the screws underneath little by little. And I don't like that. That's not good. You want the knife to operate the way it's supposed to in your pocket as well as in your hand. And having that issue makes a huge difference on how you carry your your knife. Yeah, your pocket knife. So, yeah. So this is unfortunately not one I'm going to be carrying too often because of this issue. If this was flush with the handle, I'd carry this a lot more, because then I'd know for certain that it's a sturdy pocket clip on a sturdy handle and it's not going anywhere.